Welcome to Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. I'm so glad you joined us this week. And we have USA Today best-selling author Elizabeth Ellen Carter with us this week. Elizabeth, thanks for being
Hello.
with us.
Thank you very much. It's always lovely chatting with you.
I'm so glad you're here. So you're the only release we have this week, but it is the first book in a brand new series, which is really exciting. And the setup of it is so intriguing to me. So it's Deceiving the Duke, which is the first book in the Gems of London series. And the tagline for it is, "Hate brought them together, will love tear them apart." So I want to know what is that?
Well, the hate is not between the hero and heroine.
Okay.
The hate, which helps in a romance, funnily enough. The antagonist in the story is the Duke of Orcan. The hero is the Duke's son. The heroine is a young lady who is convinced that the Duke of Orcan defrauded her father out of his fair due for a patent for a textile process. So she is out to see justice done. She's got the contract that the Duke signed with her father, and she is going to confront him with it, only to discover when she gets from Scotland to London is that the Duke of Orcan is dying. He is a very unwell man. Unfortunately, that hasn't improved his temper at all. So he is the most curmudgeonly fellow that you're ever going to meet. And that's Ruby's story, and hence the gems across the series. The heroines have gemstone names. The son is Seth. He wears glasses, which his father finds an absolute abomination. But he wasn't diagnosed with his needing corrective lenses until he was about 10. And by that stage, his father had written him off as a dullard and an imbecile, and sent him to work in the textile mill, and not giving him any of the advantages that he'd be due as an earl. So when he receives summons to attend his father in London, he's not best pleased. Seth has made a life for himself far away from the privileges that he would have as an earl. And he finds the expectation he has. He's resentful for that because he's got other plans. So the hatred is the Duke of Orcan, which both the
So it's
hero and
mutual
heroine.
them to somebody else.
That's right. That's right. Our heroine Ruby finds a convenient way to get to the Earl is to step in as his nurse, because the Duke has seen off plenty of night nurses. So Ruby sees this as the opportunity. In the Duke's delirium, he calls out for his long dead wife, Seth's mother, and when Ruby sort of talks to the Duke in his delirium, the Duke speaks back, thinking he's talking to his long dead beloved wife. So our heroine is actually gaslighting the Duke in order to try and persuade him to do the right thing by her late father,
To make amends.
to right the justice. And as she gets to know Seth, sees another opportunity to use the connection that the Duke has with his dead wife to try and persuade him to do the right thing by his son.
That's
So
all kinds of sneaky.
very sneaky. So we come to the point where the Duke inevitably dies. So where does that leave the relationship on that point, given that there is a great number of deceptive elements. Seth doesn't know Ruby's true identity or her agenda in being there.
So to him, she actually is the night nurse.
She's the night nurse. And it's only very later on that he discovers, and this is another complicating factor, Ruby has had to sell her beloved family home, Strathade. What she doesn't know is the house has been bought in a company name, which is owned by Seth.
Oh, that's convenient.
Who is going to use part of the land to build his own textile mill, which he originally plans to put in competition with his father, and basically destroy his father. So you've got a number of different elements. That attraction alone between the hero and heroine is not going to solve. So the romance, the love they're pretty sure they feel for one another, may very well tear them apart. So hence the tagline, a very long, circuitous route.
No, but it's such a great tagline. When I got it, I was like, oh, I can make ads for this because I want to know. Oh, that's very cool. And it's like, that's a deep, if he's willing to start his own textile company to go up against in competition with his father, then those are some deep-seated feelings. That's a lot to overcome for the hero and heroine to move.
Yeah, well, that's it. And it's sort of where does forgiveness for past wrongs come into it too? Because unless they address that, they're not going to be able to move forward, either as individuals or as a couple. And something else that our heroine realizes is Seth, who for all intents and purposes is just an ordinary man, is now a duke without having gone through all of the preparation,
the grooming
in society for that. So she even though Seth proposes, she knocks him back, knowing that he has got to tread his own path for a while. And also she wants to make sure that his declaration of love was for the right reasons, that there won't be any future resentment of the interference that she's played in his life so far.
Oh, that sounds perfect. It sounds like such a grown-up love story. I love that. Yeah, that sounds perfect.
It's great. I really enjoyed writing that couple. I've seen some early reviews and very heartened to see mention of our hero's best friend Roddy.
Oh, is he?
Roddy McLean.
Did you get him in later books?
He was actually in My Christmas Story in Star of
awesome.
Wonder.
Oh, awesome. That's right. I thought we had talked about this before, and I couldn't remember why, but that must have been it. So, oh, awesome.
So he's a great character. He's a real loyal friend in the truest sense, and he's not afraid to tell the hero that he's making an absolute idiot of himself.
Those are the best kind of friends.
Yeah, because that's it. So absolutely loved deceiving the Duke. It was, to be honest, I wasn't sure I could pull it off, because we get to some really high tension that ends with the Duke's death, and I worked hard and carefully about maintaining the pace, and it's sort of we've everything that we thought is now rubble. It's sort of, okay, so how do we rebuild the relationship so it's on a better, truer footing, and can grow from there. So there's another character who comes in quite late in the piece, which I find her endlessly fascinating. She's an older lady. She's in late 40s, approaching 50. She's a
That's
countess.
not old.
Who,
That's just young.
well, this is true, but she likes to take a new young lover every season,
Oh,
and she
please tell me we're
had.
gonna have her story.
I'm seriously toying with the idea of giving her own story in the Lion's Den series.
It's like a Regency Bull Durham.
Yes, yes,
I love that so much.
absolutely.
So very much.
So yes, Countess Beatrice turns out to be. She was not in the original plot, by the way. To be honest, after the Duke's death, I sort of wasn't quite sure how the story was going to turn out, but the characters tell you, and that's what happened in this case. So Lady Beatrice got introduced into the plot. So I'd like to explore a little more about her background. It's sort of where did she get to where she was? Why does she not fall in love? Why does she have these young lovers that she then sets free after a year after being the making of them? So
I love that idea so much.
So yes, that will be a Lion's Den story.
Oh, awesome. So there are 4 books in the series?
Yes, we're doing 3 and see how they go.
Okay.
The next 2, I'm 2/3 of the way through the second story, A Curio for the Count. Another great couple. The heroine works in the family business. They are a jeweler's and auction house.
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
She blends between 2 worlds. One of the things that she does is she will attend some of these parties wearing spectacular jewels, knowing that in the next day or 2 there'll be a run of people to her shop saying, I will take that, thank you. She also gets called upon to evaluate artwork and jewelry, either for insurance purposes or to find out whether the good lady wife has been selling off jewels and putting paste in place. The hero is he's English as English can be, but he's actually he was born in France. He's a count. He and his mother fled during the revolution when he was only 3 years old, and he was raised by his mother, who later married an earl. And he's never thought much about his past. He's living with his stepbrother, and they've got a great relationship. The one thing that causes tension between them is his stepbrother's wife, who decides that Armand, our hero, needs to get married. So she tries to matchmake, and he loves his sister-in-law, but Armand decides, no, I actually need a place of my own. So one way to do that, to furnish his new place, is to go to the auction house where our heroine works, and every time that she sees a piece of furniture, an object that she thinks he might like, she sends him a note saying,
she's furnishing his nest.
Absolutely. Now, at one particular auction, he sees a clock, and the clock strikes a particular memory for him. And it's one that recalls his past. It recalls the night that he and his mother flee their estate. And there is a particular secret with this clock. So he's determined he has to have this clock. The problem is our heroine has received a mysterious commission from someone who wants the clock. So we have a little bit of Mr. and Mrs. Smith sort of romantic rivalry between the two.
Bidding against each other.
Yes, even though there is
really better than bidding against yourself, but still.
there's hot attraction between them, but also there's rivalry which they both know about. So they're both trying to be the first with information to try and track this thing down. But there's a twist. There's somebody else who wants it and is prepared to kill for it.
Oh my.
So
that's a bigger secret than you would expect for a clock.
Well, this is it. So our hero and heroine actually have to work together, and the mystery of the clock will help unpack Armand's past.
Oh,
so
awesome.
So I'm playing around with taglines for that. Something along the lines of she's his future, but he needs to own his past.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So there is a double meaning there. And the third book that I've got planned in the series is The Elusive Earl, and the heroine's name is Amber.
What is the heroine's name in the second book?
Oh, sorry, Jade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very unusual name. It's because her grandfather helped make the fortune by importing pieces of Chinese jade, which went down an absolute treat. Chinoiserie and Eastern furniture became really popular in the Regency era. So that was a whole lot of fun to explore. I adore antiques. So the third book in the series, The Elusive Earl, the heroine's name is Amber. She gets left at the altar on her wedding day. Her beloved bridegroom never shows up. And in fact, 2 long years and nobody's heard from him. Nobody knows what's happened to him. But he does have a very good excuse. He is part of a group of spies who is tracking down a would-be assassin of the Prince Regent. So he has had to go undercover, and part of that is to leave his entire life behind. But now that has been dealt with, the plot has been uncovered and dealt with, he makes his way back to London, knowing that he will probably encounter Amber. Amber is retired from life for the past 2 years.
Because of the leaving at the altar thing, that'll turn a girl off.
That's it. So after 2 years, she's persuaded to go back into society. There is a man who's paying her court that she likes, but not the same as her first love. And then all of a sudden she sees her first love. So one thing that's going to be great with exploration is how do you restore trust
when it's been so badly damaged?
Exactly. Even though he has a brilliant excuse and it's not a failing on his part, it's just one of those things that happen. But of course, there is this break of trust. How do you rebuild that? So that story is going to explore that in greater depth, and then rebuild that relationship. But unfortunately, our villains haven't quite finished yet. So does our hero bail again, or does he include his love in this, and they work through this situation together.
Oh,
So.
wonderful. How did the three books relate to each other, aside from the heroines having gemstone names?
There is some cross-pollination of characters. So some of
So
the
we'll see
characters
familiar
from the
characters in
previous books in
awesome.
there, but in many respects they are a standalone. So you can
Mm-hmm.
start at any point in the series,
So you don't
and
have to wait for the
not
series to
feel that you
complete.
need to read the series in order.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. So, did you do any research into the textile industry before you started writing Deceiving the Duke?
Yes, I did. I had an interest in it. There was a fabulous story that I heard on on a British TV show called Bargain Hunt, where they were this particular episode was set in Manchester, which is actually where my husband came from.
Oh,
So
wow.
Manchester, lots and lots of mills, and in fact, it became so ubiquitous that the catch-all term for sheets and towels and things like that in Australia is called Manchester.
Oh, my goodness. I've
So,
never heard that
so
before.
well, it's funny when my brother-in-law and his wife came out to Australia, and we ended up going into a department store, and there was a sign saying, Manchester. He thought that was absolutely hilarious. He loved it. So
I can
it became a
imagine.
catch-all term. But this particular story is one young mill owner went to Italy, which also had a big textile industry, and basically did a little bit of industrial espionage,
Oh,
and discovered this mill's particular trade secrets and replicated the whole thing back in England. Except the Italian mill owner wasn't going to have that. So the story is, he sends a beautiful woman to England to inveigle her way into the affections of this man, and poisons him,
oh my
and
goodness!
he
Like
dies.
poisoned to death?
Yes.
Well, I guess that's one way to handle espionage.
It's a very
Oh my!
Italian, a very, very sort of very stereotypical sort of classic Italian way
Oh my
of doing
goodness!
it. So
Oh my
that
goodness!
had me really sort of interested, and I actually referenced that in Deceiving the Duke. Um, I also found I was aware of the Jacquard process because of its then later connection with computing, because they used punch cards to
I never thought about
set the
that.
patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So I just absorb history.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research on some of the specifics, but the general background I already had.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of fun with that. With A Curio for the Count, I love antiques.
You mentioned that. I wondered about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, our bedroom furniture is Victorian oak furniture that we found. It's originally English, so we found that in a local antique store,
Oh,
and it was
lovely.
love. It was love at first sight. So we
Mm-hmm.
bought it, and then we got home thinking, I hope it will fit.
Did
And
it?
it does.
Oh, good.
It does.
Good.
All of the pieces, including an armoire and a couple of chests of drawers,
Oh my
and
goodness.
there's this beautiful bed and a pot stand which
Mm-hmm.
I use as my bedside cupboard. It's great. And where I live, it's a coastal city. It's a bit like Miami. I think Fort Lauderdale might be a twin city with our city on the Gold Coast. And the antiques dealer said he was in despair of trying to get a buyer for this because it's heavy dark brown
It doesn't
oak,
have that
and
feel.
it's not the subtropical Queensland type of furniture, but we don't care. we just had to have it.
I love it when you find pieces that speak to you, and then you get to touch them every day. You know, there's something really lovely about surrounding yourself with pieces that have stories attached to them, so that they're not brand new, and then also the things that you really, really love. So.
Well, and most of the furniture in our place is like that. I mean, where I'm sitting now is right next to me. I've got a 1950s cocktail cabinet, which is also a radiogram and with a turntable.
Oh wow!
and it's so cool. We haven't done the electrics. It's just a lovely piece of furniture. But we saw that at a car boot sale. $50, and the guy who had it on his truck said, "I'll deliver it," and it's sort of done.
Yes, please. Oh, wonderful.
So and you're right. It's being able to connect to history, which has that appeal, and it's practical pieces of furniture that people use. So yeah, that's. But now, sadly, our house is full, so we can't buy any more.
There are worse problems to have, Elizabeth.
True, very true.
There are worse problems to have. Well, we have run ourselves right to the end of time. I knew we weren't going to have any trouble chatting the whole half hour. So I'm so grateful that you took the time to talk to us today, and I'm so excited about the new series. I've loved seeing the covers come across my desk. They just, the Gems of London is such a brilliant name for a series, and it makes me want to know about the heroine. So I'm very excited about this one. So.
Thank you very much. It's always a delight to chat, and yes. No, I'm really pleased with the series. It's one that I can expand, and hopefully the readers will enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. And I'll pop the link to the book. The book actually comes out the day that the chat airs, so I will pop the link to the book in the comments so that it's easy for all of you who are watching to find it. You won't have to work. And Elizabeth also did an interview for us on our website. So if you swing over to Dragonblade, you'll be able to find her interview there, where she goes into a little bit more detail about the books she likes to write and the writing process and stuff. We didn't get to talk to her about any of that part today. So that's all over there. And also, if you're on TikTok, follow us on TikTok. We'll have Elizabeth's video up tomorrow on TikTok and Dragonblade. Our TikTok is growing, and we're trying to expand. And some of the Dragonblade authors are doing some really wonderful things. So if you find us, you can follow them, and it's a lot of fun over there. So thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back at the same time next week. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking your time today. I really appreciate it. We'll see everybody next week.
And thank you.
Thanks.